I'm broadcasting to you today from the CBR bunker located deep underground because I need protection for what I'm about to say. And this is what it is. Tyler Rake could take John Wick in a fight. Every single person in the world watched the Netflix film Extraction when it came out. Part of that had to do with the fact that there were literally no other movies being released that month. The other reason is because it's awesome. Seriously, that movie will make you go, Thor, who? As Chris Hemsworth proves that he's not only a thunder god, but an action god as well. Anytime there's a character who can slay bad guys so well that they make it an art form, there's one question that has to be asked. Can they beat John Wick? Ever since Keanu Reeves first donned his black suit and declared how back he was, there was a shift in the action movie order. John McClane, Rambo, the Terminator, and all the other action movie heroes of old suddenly were put in their place. John Wick was officially declared the king of all action guys. You know when Samuel L. Jackson is dying to be in your franchise that you're the top of the food chain. That guy was a Jedi, a Bible-quoting assassin, a samurai of the Afro variety, and started the frickin' Avengers. He's basically the kingmaker. When we're introduced to Tyler Rake, he seems more than a little depressed. Though, which of us hasn't done a sad jump to the bottom of a lake before? He then gets a mission to extract this kid, and we get a proper introduction to the character. By character, of course, I mean one-man frickin' army. There seems to be nothing that this trained soldier isn't an expert in. We see him fight with guns, knives, hand-to-hand combat, and even a particularly intense car chase. While John Wick certainly has his fair share of trained assassins to go up against, Rake has an entire city after him. Speaking of trained assassins though, Rake also has one of them on his tail. Randeep Hooda makes his grand debut to Western audiences as Sanju, Rake's greatest threat. While Sanju definitely fares better than any of the cops or random attackers that unluckily get in Rake's way, he still ends up losing. If it weren't for that really rude car breaking up their confrontation, it's doubtful that Sanju would have lived to tell the tale. Though it's not like he lasted much longer anyway. While we're on the subject, Sanju might not be a threat to Rake, but Randeep Hooda might be. Somebody give that man an action movie franchise already. At the very least, can we see him in John Wick Chapter 4? He could not have been auditioning harder for that movie. As far as Wick goes, we've seen him display similar one-man army skills, but in a very different environment. We learn in John Wick Chapter 3 that Wick was a trained assassin by the Ruska Roma. He was trained in a wide variety of edged weapons, firearms, tactical driving, martial arts, and escapology. Eventually, he became so famous as an assassin that he was given the name Baba Yaga, or Boogeyman. You know those stories about scary monsters your parents used to tell you to be good? Well, John Wick is the scary monster for evil bad guys. Or really anybody in the business. Honestly, I'd love to see a scene where a mafia boss groups his goons around the campfire. Then each of them tells a different story they know about how terrifying John Wick is. What with Wick supposedly a goner to the world after Parabellum, he'd make the perfect ghost story. We'll definitely get to see him go full Baba Yaga on the high table in Chapter 4. And speaking of goons, let me go check on mine real fast. Yeah, looks like all 30 of them are still right outside me bunker, fully armed and ready to go. Hey, I needed to check first because now I'm going to tell you exactly why Tyler Rake is Baba Yaga's boogeyman. At the beginning of John Wick, Mr. Yaga is not so much a master assassin as he's a sad suburban widower. This is basically the lake house version of Keanu Reeves more than Neo from the lobby scene in The Matrix. The film really establishes that Wick has been out of his game for a long time and isn't quite in his prime. His decline is really apparent in the final fight scene in the original. Don't get me wrong, the first John Wick is one of the best action movies ever made. We gotta admit though, his final showdown with Vigo is not his finest hour. Sure, the choreography is good, but Wick should not have had that much trouble taking down a much older man. I mean, Ethan Hunt didn't have nearly that much trouble taking the same guy out in Ghost Protocol. He had a lot more going on too, what with stopping the end of the world and everything. Meanwhile, Tyler Rake is definitely a soldier in his prime. His moves make that scene where depowered Thor takes on the shield guards look like Kevin the receptionist from Ghostbusters. In fact, Rake in Extraction is probably pretty close to the skill level Wick was at during his prime. The John Wick movies make it pretty clear that this whole assassin thing is a young man's game. Part of the tension around John is the fact that he's an older guy fighting the new class of stylish people slayers. It's kinda like Skyfall in a way. Sure, it's fun to see Daniel Craig in Casino Royale bust through walls, but it's more fun to see the grizzled older Bond struggle. Speaking of which, how long do you think it'll be before the John Wick prequel films come out with him in his prime? I mean, Adam Driver is basically a clone of Keanu Reeves that Hollywood made after The Matrix made like $1 billion. Why not use him? Of course, they could always recut movies like Speed and Point Break into John Wick films. Movie studios love remaking action movies from the 80s and 90s. So honestly, something like that is probably inevitable anyway. Ultimately, unless John Wick can get in the phone booth time machine from Bill and Ted and grab a younger John to take on Rake, he's out of luck. Of course, all bets are off if Tyler Rake ever hurts a puppy or so much as scratches John's car. He might not be in his prime, but that puppy rage makes him basically unbeatable. Alright, let me double check the status of my guards. Okay, yeah, looks like they're still alive. Sure, the footage on my security cameras looks kind of like it's been looped, but I'm sure that's normal. Now, how exactly would that fight between Rake and Wick go? The last we saw of Wick, he decided to get revenge on both the High Table and the Continental after they betrayed him. This basically means that he's going to have to take on the entire secret assassin world. As tough as Halle Berry and her dog army are, they aren't enough to help him here. That means that Wick is definitely going to need allies. We learned in Chapter 2 that the only way to make allies in this world is through markers. So, John Wick is going to have to make some deals with a few devils and take a job or two he might not want to. Which takes us to Tyler Rake, who, let's face it, totally survived getting capped in the neck and falling into a dirty river. Honestly, surviving the guaranteed infection he's gonna get from that is more impressive than the bullet wound. I'm not sure how they're gonna explain it, but the ending makes it look real clear that Rake is alive and still looking after Ovi. That's good, because for our purposes, Ovi's exactly the kid John Wick is going to be assigned to take out. For John, that would be morally unthinkable, but so was taking out Gianna. Before anything goes down, we'll probably get one of those cool montages where John assembles all of his weapons for a job. He can't go to the Continental anymore, but I'm sure there's a motel version that probably sells them out of a vending machine or something. Look, he's made enemies out of the entire world. He's gonna have to compromise on a little bit of style. Then Rake's best friend with benefits / boss, Nick Khan, will inform him that there's a master assassin after Ovi. Again. Then Khan will go off and have her own action movie franchise. She definitely deserves one, that's for sure. As Rake goes to extract Ovi, the bullets will start flying. Now, here it's important to note that if Wick stuck to a sniper rifle, he'd probably be fine. For whatever reason, though, Wick prefers to get in close. He will occasionally use one, but that's usually just for taking out excess goons. Wick really feels at home with an automatic or a pistol. So let's assume that he starts with an automatic rifle. Rake and Ovi will duck for cover while Wick gets close, spraying them with bullets. Rake might use a smoke grenade if he's packing one and start shooting with his automatic too. They'll both do this until the two run out of ammo and switch to their sidearms. This is where things get interesting. Wick has several advantages over Rake in this regard. For one, he's much better with a pistol. Not only that, but his suit is secretly body armor. Rake will likely hit Wick thinking that it's over, only to discover that Wick's just fine. This advantage is all it'll take to actually land a shot on Tyler. Now that Rake's been injured, he'll go to take out Ovi. Of course, John, being a good guy and all, won't be able to go through with it. I mean, look at how cute Ovi is. He's basically like if a puppy was a person. That hesitation will be all Rake needs to get in close. Now the two will have their knife fight, and while Wick is definitely good with a blade, he's no Tyler Rake. The two will swipe at each other for a while, and Wick will probably get some deep cuts in, but Rake has the reach, the speed, and the motivation. If John Wick is unbeatable when he's avenging a puppy, Tyler Rake is unbeatable protecting Ovi. This will lead to Rake finally doing what no one else was able to do, finishing the Baba Yaga. Now, YouTube restrictions keep us from getting too explicit in how he does this, so just imagine it's something worthy of being a fatality from Mortal Kombat and tell us all about it in the comments. Finish him. After the last few years, Wick would probably be relieved. I mean, it's not like he's going to get a happy ending anyway, right? Now that that's settled, the only question that's left is who would win between real-life Keanu Reeves and Chris Hemsworth. I mean, Hemsworth is an Australian superhuman and Reeves is an ancient vampire, so that would be a pretty good match. Who do you think would win? Well, I think that about does it for me. Pretty sure it's safe for me to come out. Oh no, wait. All my guards are gone. He's here. Baba Yaga's here. No, don't hurt me. I'm sorry, you're still the best. Johnny Mnemonic is better than Citizen Kane. Well, there you have it. John Wick versus Tyler Rake. Who do you think would win between the two? Any other action heroes you want to see go up against them? Let us know in the comment section down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hardcore action from CBR.